Welcome to Naturally Brown Woman, the natural resource for and about women of color. I'm Tammy Williams. So let's get started. Okay, so social work is her passion and the kitchen is her office. That's the only way that we can put it. People stand in line for miles and miles down sidewalks and down streets just to get a taste, and to experience her fried chicken and beignets with that honey pecan glaze. It's delicious. I just know it is. I want some. She's in New Orleans. I'm in Atlanta. I just want some. I can't wait to get there to just taste it. But I know people are just like raving about it. That's what she's known for. But she's also a PhD student at Louisiana State University. I have no idea how she does it all, but she does it all. And we are just so proud of her. She is such an inspiration for young adults all across this world. Miss Tiara Alexander, welcome to Naturally Brown Woman.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. Now, your history in with food, your relationship with food started a long time ago. Now, we're going to tell some people how you were able to bring in social work, your study into this this area of food and your love and passion for food. But now let's talk about how you got started in this industry with Sweet Legacy.
Yes, I have always been fascinated with cooking and culinary arts. And really growing up, I thought I was going to be a chef. When I was an adult, I would always watch Food Network and just different things like that. And I was so fascinated, as I said, by people cooking and just the impact that food could have on people's lives. And it turned into me learning to cook at a very young age. I have no idea when I started cooking. As long as I've been alive, I feel like I've been able to cook. And I have a lot of people in my family who are wonderful cooks and bakers. And my grandfather was a pastry chef for many years. My grandmother, who was the one that I actually credit to teaching me to bake, she's the best baker I have ever met and will ever meet. And I started baking at 6. Apparently, there's
6 years
photo
old.
evidence of this. 6 years old, yes.
Wait, not
So
a,
it's been over 20 years.
not an easy bake oven cake. You didn't.
No, but it was a box cake.
It was a box cake. You remember those easy? Well,
it was
you
a box cake.
Too young to remember. We used to have these easy bake ovens that we made these little cakes in. But your experience was.
Totally I had one.
You had one too. Okay,
I did.
But you also made a full cake when you at the age of 60. So you started baking really, really early. Yeah, yeah. So tell me, what was your inspiration? Of course, you had all the people around you who were doing all this great cooking. Like you said, your grandfather was a pastry chef. But you decided to kind of start your business, Sweet Legacy. Tell me about that and what also inspired you to start your business.
Well, my mom is a great, great businesswoman. She's always taught me to be entrepreneurial and really to be able to create a space where there is sometimes no space. And so that led to me I believe I started my first business at 6 years old as well. I was selling blow pop bouquets as a little bitty kid, and it was so cute. And I remember that, and it was such a nice experience that ended up growing into me starting different businesses over the years. It changes as you age. And eventually I started Sweet Legacy, and I feel like it's always been a part of me. I know there was a definitive point where it was like, okay, let's start Sweet Legacy, but I feel like it's always been inside of me. So 6 years old is kind of where it started. And then, like I said, I started with the box cake at 6, and I gravitated to learning to bake from scratch when I was about 8 or 9. My grandmother started teaching me. And then I kept learning to cook and I kept learning to bake, and it just grew. And I started making cakes and dishes for my family and my friends, and Sweet Legacy was born.
So with Sweet Legacy, it has grown to such a point that you do festivals regularly, and you've gotten several other contracts. Tell me, did you anticipate it developing in such a way that it has?
I did not at all. Actually, with Sweet Legacy, I started off with just doing desserts only. That was always what I felt like was my strong point. So I would bake cakes and make pies and things like that. And eventually I kind of burned out on it. So I would want to do it on my own time. It's like, okay, if I feel like making you a cake, maybe I'll make one. But I didn't want to do it as my profession. I realized very quickly I was not made to be a chef per se. But I ended up putting it down for some years. And as I like to say, was reborn in 2016 when I was in my first year of my PhD program. I ended up picking it back up, new mindset, turn it into more of a social enterprise versus being just me making desserts for people, turn it into something that could actually help people and make a difference in, families and children's lives.
Yeah. So tell me about that study, because I know that that second part of your of the cooking, or I should say a second part. It's like sometimes people have to decide, okay, are you going to do this or you're going to do that? But it has come together for you. Um, Talk about that social part and
Yes.
that mission to connect families through food in a very special way.
Well, when I was in my first year, as I said, in my first year of the PhD program that I'm in, shout out to LSU, I had to take a class that was called intervention research. And that class was all about learning about specific programs and interventions that help various populations because social workers can work pretty much anywhere with anybody. And I started on a whim, or I thought at the time it was a whim, but now I know it was like it was meant to be. I wanted to see if there were any food related interventions within social work. I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know if there was anything at the time, but our assignment was to just look up some interventions and write about them. And so I looked and I found a handful. Most of them were about nutrition, of course, which is super duper important. But I didn't find much about the social aspects of food. And I always found that that was something really intriguing, how such a simple thing is something that connects everybody in the world. Everybody has to eat. There are only a handful of things, really, mostly artsy things, that connect every single person in the world.
Absolutely.
It builds, it's a part of the culture, it's a part of who we are, it's a part of how we express ourselves. So I started that year just kind of looking for something that talked about that. And really, the research studies were far and few. And I just kept going with it because I thought it was really interesting. And over the course of those 2 semesters that year, that led to changing it to focus on foster families. My research, of course, very broadly could be applied to families and children in general, but my dissertation research that I'm conducting is specifically on foster families because I learned over time that so many foster children have really poor relationships with food, and that could be due to abuse and neglect and they just lack of control. And I think that was one of the things that really stood out to me. I remember reading a research study that said that mealtime was so important in the life of a foster family, especially if you choose to incorporate that child into creating the meal, getting the groceries, actually sitting down together. And what they said was that a lot of times these children feel like they don't have any control because of course they get moved around, and so that turned into looking at families and children and how we could use food and cooking together and eating together as a tool, not as the main event, but as a tool to develop a sense of connectedness and togetherness within families.
Yeah, yeah. So I know your study is continuing at LSU on that particular matter. How are you pulling that together even now?
The Sweet Legacy Project, which is funny to me because it's all just what goes on in my head all coming together with Sweet Legacy and with the Sweet Legacy Project. And it still blows my mind to this day thinking about that. Sweet Legacy side of it is the making desserts and catering and doing festivals and special events. But the Sweet Legacy Project side of it is where I get to focus more specifically on building those connections within families. I get to use Sweet Legacy. I've been able to hire some kids. I had a young man that worked with us the last couple of years. He just went off to college and he started working with us because he needed some extra money in his senior year. And he just, ended up being such a great, great help to us. And I don't think I will ever understand what that meant to him. But
Mhm.
he went on to say, "Hey, I'm going to college. I'm getting ready to leave, but can you hire my little brother?" And I was like, "Wow, that's really, really
Yeah.
interesting. That's really cool that they think so much of being here." And we've built this great relationship that he's like, "Yeah, you know what? I have somebody else that could do this. Can you help him? And he can help you."
So it's a constant training and learning, and he felt so
Mhm.
good about the program that he's constantly recommending the program. And I've seen you work with young people and train them uh, in the kitchen, through the videos that we
Mhm.
worked on together. So and I can see those children are very, very respectable. They respect the kitchen. They respect the work. And you're doing an awesome job with the workshops that you're doing.
Thank you.
I had an opportunity to, of course, attend one of your virtual cooking workshops to do that. And so that was very, very, that was a very good workshop. It just felt so much like family. When you talk about connecting family, even in your teaching and your bringing together family to learn how to cook a particular recipe, that connectiveness was there. When I was in the session, was definitely there. So I can see how this project could really empower families. Families who have foster children, and that important time at the table, and incorporating them within the preparation of the meal. Of course, the eating and the preparation of the meal
Yes.
would mean the world to them. Would mean the world to them. So you did a community project with the YMCA, and your
Yes.
company got a contract to feed 100 children per day in the community. So it was like an outreach for you. So what was that experience like, for you?
It was overwhelming in in a good way, but still really overwhelming. The opportunity really being on the table was overwhelming in itself. Just the thought of being able to provide dinner for these children was something that I thought was really, really great and really important, and why I don't necessarily choose to say Sweet Legacy is just my business. I call it a social enterprise because the social part of it is what's really, really important to me. Food is important. It's a tool. It's part of it.
Yeah.
But that social part of it and being able to make those meals and have the people who deliver them come back and say, "Oh my goodness, the kids opened them up before they went inside their house. They wanted to eat the nachos on the porch." I'm like, that makes my heart flutter. You know, it's exciting.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? This probably comes more natural to you than you think, because we go back to your mother and the community work that she's doing down there in New Orleans, as
Mhm.
far as, you know, doing a lot of outreach as far as food banks and just feeding people in the community. She has one of the best she has one of the best organizations as far as, you know, reaching out to the community, feeding those who may have some struggles, you know, with getting proper meals. So I know that you were alongside doing that work as well.
Oh yes, definitely. We have been really doing outreach as at least since I was about 16. We started doing a Bible study, a weekly Bible study, and that ended up with us providing food for people in the community. There were a lot of houseless people in the area, and they would come and they would find out we had food, and they would bring their friends and everybody else in the area, and it just grew quickly.
Yeah.
And you know, it turned into, eventually um we do Thanksgiving every year. We do a community Thanksgiving. I believe this is year 12. Somewhere around year 9 or 10, I lost track because I
Yeah.
just go with it because it's one of the best things I think we do all year.
Yeah, and you know
Go
what?
ahead.
What I also, with your family, we talk about family connectedness and food. You know, you guys on Thanksgiving, for as long as I can remember, on that day, you always did service on that day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The community Thanksgiving is, and I tell my mom this all the time, this is one of my favorite things that we do out of the entire year. It is pretty much the highlight of my year. I love the holidays in general, but it's the community Thanksgiving that's really the highlight of my year. And what we do is we come together, we'll cook a few things, but because it's just the three of us in the house, it's a little bit different. We don't do a full-on Thanksgiving dinner at our home. What we do is we get a bunch of donations and we cook some dishes, and everybody comes together, invites the community. It's open to the public. We all get together and we have Thanksgiving dinner at lunchtime. We have Thanksgiving lunch, I guess.
Mhm. Oh,
And we just get to sit down and talk and meet people, and we have music and lots and lots and lots of food. It's always There's always so much food.
oh, so yeah, yeah. I love what you guys are doing in New Orleans. So tell me, where do you go from here, Tiara? You have done a lot of work in your short amount of time, on, you know, your short amount of time. You're only in your 20s. You're 20 something, and you have a business. You're working on your PhD, and I know you graduated from high school, I think, when you were 16, and all kinds of great educational opportunities have been afforded to you, just along the way, because of your study and your discipline. So tell me, what's next for you and Sweet Legacy and in the program?
Well, I would have loved if I graduated high school at 16. I was actually
Ah!
17, almost 18 by the time I graduated high school.
I just think you're a genius either way it goes. Whether it's 17
Thank
or
you.
14.
Thank you. I did graduate undergrad a year early though.
Yeah, okay.
So
Gotcha. Okay,
it balances out.
okay.
I got my bachelor's in
Okay.
3 years.
Okay. Gotcha.
But where do we go? You know what? I am continuing to bake, of course, and cook. And right now, with the way that the world looks, there's so much happening in the world right now. Festivals, of course, were something that we were doing pretty regularly every year since 2016. I've been a part of Fried Chicken Fest and Beignet Fest. I started a little bit later, and I've done several other festivals. So it's very different. right now because,
Mhm.
of course, everything has changed and we weren't allowed to do that. But this year, we did get to do Beignet Fest a little bit differently. They did a socially distant Beignet Fest, which was very, very interesting. And I would look forward to doing some more opportunities like that. And also this year, I was able to provide meals for over 100 kids for 100 kids each day
Oh,
for about a month and a half. And that was incredible. So I'm working on doing some more things like that and creating opportunities for some more young people to be able to work because I think that's one of my personal favorite things that I get to do. I get to, they help me, of course. Ultimately, they help me, but I know that this opportunity probably means more to them than I will ever understand.
mhm.
So I'm working on doing some more things, uh, some more events, some more festivals when we're able.
Tiara, can you tell people how to connect with you?
Yes, you can look us up at Sweet Legacy NOLA on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, all the same, Sweet Legacy NOLA, and keep up with us. You can find out about our upcoming cooking classes, festivals. You can call us about a special event. We do catering. We do a special beignet station if you're interested in having us come out and fry some beignets for your
Mm,
party.
mhm.
You can look us up. Our website is also sweetlegacynola.com.
Tiara, you are such an inspiration. I can't say that enough. Thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for empowering other people. And I wish you the best in all that you do. I know you're going to have good success for sure, for sure.
Thank you.
Okay. God
Thank
bless you
you.
and tell your mom hello.
I will. I promise.